Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second panel of the day regarding career development in private equity and venture capital sector. I'm Evgeny, Business Development and Project Manager at the LPEA, and I have next to me Luis.
Hi, I'm Luis Galvez. I'm Chief Operating Officer at the LPEA. And well, we are here today to animate and bring some additional insights to this job fair. Many of you have been visiting the different recruiters, and you can continue doing that for the next half an hour. We're going to explore how to develop your career in Luxembourg. And who is joining us for that, Evie?
Yes, for this panel, we have with us Dunja Schumacher, Director at LBC Investor and Treasury Services, and Andrew Notter, partner at a recruitment firm called Anderson Wise. So welcome both. Thank you for taking the time today.
Welcome.
Very welcome.
So we would like to start with a bit of your background. Maybe Dunja is going first.
Yes, so as mentioned, my name is Dunja Schumacher. I'm working at RBC based in Luxembourg, and I'm not a recruiter. I'm actually working in the operational department, and I'm leading a department that is responsible for private equity real estate activities. So including really different functions such as fund accounting, transaction management, transfer agency, consolidation, and we have an important client management team. And I'm with RBC based in Luxembourg, responsible for private equity real estate in Europe. So this includes Luxembourg, Channel Island, Ireland, and France. I'm working for RBC since 3 years now, but I'm in Luxembourg since more than 20 years. Where I've started at a French bank, BNP, and I worked there for 20 years. And I have evolved over the years from a pure transfer agency operations role into a project role and operational management role. So and I've always tried over this experience to change into a new role every 3 to 4 years to really get as much expertise in different fields. And yeah, now for the moment on private equity real estate operations.
Thank you, Dunja. And you, Andrew?
Yeah, no problem at all. Good afternoon, everyone. So yes, Andrew Notter. I'm British, been in Luxembourg for the last 15 years. I work for a company called Anderson Wise, which is mainly focused in Luxembourg on the financial services sector, particularly within the private equity and real estate and alternative asset class. So my background, I suppose I've worked for my previous company for over 15 years. I started in London for a global recruitment firm. I moved to Brussels, opened up their financial services arm. I've been in Luxembourg recruiting for the private sector and alternative sector ever since then. So seeing the market really grow, helping companies opening up their operations in Luxembourg through to developing and managing their teams and recruiting for all their teams as they grow here very quickly over the last few years. So helping very closely to the business. I do a lot of networking in Luxembourg as well. So I'm a vice chair of the British Chamber of Commerce in Luxembourg, and also on the HR committee for the American Chamber of Commerce in Luxembourg. That's a quick overview.
Okay, so well, there's no standard way to start working in private equity and to grow one's career. Here we will try to generalize or capture different points of view and some pieces of advice. Andrew, what is the most common entry point for someone wanting to start to work in private equity in Luxembourg, to start with?
To start with, yeah, so we suppose that we see a lot of people entering the market. And generally, I suppose, as Luxembourg is seen as a lot of the back and middle office, so you would see a number of service providers, fund administration, that are opening opportunities, and also within the private equity houses themselves. That's where we would see the first opening. So generally people that are studying They're graduates, they would have studied finance, taken a ACCA qualification or part qualified, or studying towards that qualification, as an example, would be entering the market and looking for that first operation in one of those sectors of business. And you will see, Dunya, I'm sure, will also probably agree, she has a few graduates or people in that size of business because they're a huge employer. Also plenty of opportunities for career development and growth within such an employer. But that's quite a different opportunity compared to joining a private equity house itself, which generally in Luxembourg would have a lower number of staff, but different types of opportunities for growth and development as well. So that's where I see it generally happening. And also from a legal perspective, we'd see trained lawyers, again, people studying towards a legal qualification, looking to enter the market into a legal administration, company secretarial role, which is helping companies to achieve their legal requirements from a private equity or real estate standpoint in Luxembourg.
Dunya, RBC being a big firm, is it advisable for newcomers to join big firms like yours, or the Big Four, or big law firms that provide probably more training opportunities, more learning on the job opportunities? Is it advisable, or should people also risk and more players and try to find different ways?
Well, I would say yes, it is advisable, and also as mentioned by Andrew, I think because there are so many opportunities also and within the private equity real estate sector, but also by joining a bigger group. Generally, you can start in a function or in a team. And then, well, you have so many opportunities then to change and to evolve into something else, which always is a perfect school, I would say, because you see the picture from end to end. In smaller companies, you touch so many things in parallel when you're in one function, but you don't have so many opportunities to evolve. That I would say that is an advantage of a bigger company, but nevertheless, I wouldn't say that joining a smaller company is not good. It just gives you other points to start, but so I think both sides are well. It also depends, what do you want in terms of career? Do you want to have a quick overview from the start, or do you want to more do it step by step and then evolve differently afterwards? And I think this is important when it comes to career development. It's important to exactly know, what do you want? Where do you feel comfortable? Where do you see yourself progress? Because that should always drive, you should always drive your career by yourself, and nobody else should drive your career. So that is always important.
So this brings me to the next question. Let's say after 2-3 years in a big firm, what people should prefer, to grow internally or to jump in a new firm? What do you see more often?
And personally, I have seen both sides. If I take my personal example, I stayed with my first employer for 20 years, but I did something else every 3 or 4 years. And I started.
That's the advantage of the larger firms, because they give you different.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I've seen other people coming in from companies moving after 3 or 4 years, and that is also possible. But bigger firms definitely give you the opportunity to stay with them and evolve within that company in many different jobs.
And you, Andrew, I mean, you are a recruiter, so you see people jumping from firm to firm. What do you see more often?
Sure, yeah, and then you made a good example, I suppose, of to drive your career forward, and it really depends on exactly what you want to achieve in your career. And I think that's the biggest factor when you're thinking about what you're looking to achieve. So what we generally see is there's a huge amount of people that would enter the Big Four, as an example. So they would come from international environments into the Big Four in Luxembourg, and they can gain a really wide scope of exposure there with many different clients, and they get a real good school in a way of training, development, and really developing their career in different hierarchies of level of seniority. And that's a great opportunity for people if that's what they want to achieve. We generally do see people staying there until a certain level. If it's not on partner track, then they leave to really gain a bit more understanding about the client side and how they evolve as a business, really getting closer to the client. As an example, so they might move to a private equity house or a real estate fund manager and kind of gain that exposure then, as opposed to doing the. So we would see that as the kind of natural next steps. And people, yeah, I suppose if you can stay within that organization and you are given opportunities to grow, to develop, by all means do that. I think that's a great opportunity. I think the question is, if you're not getting that, then what are your options and what do you do? And I think if people are clear about what they want to achieve, they will have a very clear navigation system about how they can develop that career. And if it's not possible within that employer, of course, ask questions and show that motive to drive your career. But if you're blocked, then I think you need to look at alternative solutions to help you achieve the career that you're looking for.
Well, that's very important to know what you want as a career, but eventually, with a few years of experience, maybe you still don't know that much. And Dunya, I recall when we had a preparation call for today, you mentioned the importance of people networking or have mentors or even what you call sponsors. Can you tell us more about how should people go around to get a wider exposure of the industry? If some will have the opportunity to do it on the job, to find these, to experience different types of roles on the job. Others will probably need to rely on recommendations and on the view of external people.
Yeah, I think the networking for a career is very important, because the more you become visible outside of your day-to-day job, the more people think about you when it comes to opportunities. And when you and I often get the question, well, why don't I get a promotion? I'm doing my job right and I'm doing it on time. Well, I said, okay, but what else do you do? What else do you do outside of your comfort zone? Because doing your job right and doing it on time is not necessarily enough anymore. I think the expectation have also evolved over the years. So you need to build your network outside of
to grow personally as well. I guess this
to
is
grow
what you mean.
personally as well. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely, grow personally, because I see it when we are thinking about a person, okay, should we allow a promotion here or not? One of the first questions I get, okay, who knows this person? And when it's only me having that in my department, knowing that person, it's not it's not sufficient. You need to get visible outside of your group. You need to know also for your own career what is happening in the market, how the market is evolving, and especially private equity market is still not mature. There are so many things happening there today, and so many opportunities. You need to be aware of what is happening, also to see what opportunities are there. And this market is so interesting because it's full of opportunities, but you need to take them. You can't sit there and just wait that everything is falling on your plate. You need really to get out, looking what is happening around you, network, get to know people, because if the people remember you, they will think about you when it comes to opportunities.
I agree with you, and I would like to say, because I'm here in Luxembourg 2.5 years, and I see, more and more around me people participating in working groups, taking the initiatives, writing articles. So I think that this networking and this, what you mentioned, who knows this person? So you need a lot of visibility here in order to grow in the sector.
Yeah.
So we actually have also a mentorship.
We're going to launch a mentorship program.
Precise to bring those people together, and without willing to advertise too much on the LPEA as an association, we work by technical committees and clubs, which is a great opportunity for often younger staff to get exposure, to interact with professionals from other firms. And so it's always a good opportunity when you are already working in a member of the LPEA to make yourself visible and to take leadership on some projects. So, I mean, I assume people are already burdened with their day-to-day role. You know, how should they find these opportunities other than the association, as I just mentioned? But how is it going from saying to doing, actually? I don't know if you want to share any personal experience on that.
From sharing to doing. Well, let Dunya go. Dunya's got some great examples, I'm sure. She can talk about that.
I give it a start, and then you can complete. No, I think what what makes you doing things. I think every company that cares about their employees has a good program already in place. I know. I think a lot of companies offer training programs. Within RBC, we have a training academy with external trainings. We are working a lot with House of Training in Luxembourg, but it's really a training program where we have trainings from staff to staff, trainings by the experts from the market with House of Training, and at the end a certification. And this is one example, and I think every company has a lot of training programs, but also what we try to do is really, okay, how can we support our staff to make career develop? And I think that is also where the leaders within a company have a role, is to make their staff grow. And this starts with, okay, to support their staff. When I have a person that comes to me, well, Dunya, I wanna progress in my career. Well, it's my job as well to help this person. It's not my job to say, okay, I'm going to find you a better. That's the person itself that you need to do it, but I'm there to support this person. I think a lot of companies have this in place. You just need to see, okay, what is already available and take those opportunities. Mentoring, you can have a mentor. You can take it in the company you work, but you can also choose somebody outside of your workplace. You think, okay, this is a good example for me. I want to be like this person in terms of communication, or I want to be like this person in terms of client. Well, I should contact that person and work to develop this, what I want to do. And look at the opportunities you already have available within your current work world or private world. And also look, okay, what else is existing? There are so many opportunities there if you just want to, take them.
Well, there's something we discussed prior to this call. It was about to get to know his own weaknesses and strengths.
Yeah.
To be able, as you said, to identify someone that is good at communicating, for instance, and trying to improve himself or herself on that way. And Andrew, not everyone is successful then at landing a new job. Is there any kind of feedback that is sent back to these people so that they can improve precisely some areas where they were probably less competitive or less interesting for the targeted company?
Sure. Yeah, it's an important factor as well, and I agree. Yeah, I mean, you have your plan, and I think it's important coming back to that point. If you have a mentor, they can certainly help you to really refine all of these points and understand. Getting some external advice is a great way to assess the areas that you improve as well from your skill set. Is it training? Is it what you need to do internally? So having someone that can provide that advice to you from an external perspective is really useful. Internally as well, of course, there's a slightly different interaction when you have someone internally versus external, and both. But I think that advice is certainly beneficial. What I see, I suppose, a lot of the moment is how people drive their careers, and what different. So if people have studied the same qualifications, gone to the same school, they've got a similar amount of experience, why is an employer going to choose that individual over the other? And we were seeing a lot of emphasis on really the soft skills, so the way that they communicate, the way that they integrate, the way that they come up with a proactive solutions-focused mind, the kind of higher cognitive skills that are needed these days in terms of solving complex issues in an evolving and changing market. And I think that individuals, I mean, especially looking at technology, how that affects the workplace. I think on the call, we're talking about how companies are changing, what leaders need to do. Having someone that can come in with quite a solutions-focused mindset is really quite different than someone that perhaps would see all the problems and issues. So really thinking about what that individual can bring from that personality, from the soft skills, would really be something to focus on. And of course, as that journey evolves, you may take different career routes and you learn from those. So I think always trying to be clear about what your end goal is and what you're trying to achieve. And that will help you to understand the different areas that you need to develop as well.
Thank you, Andrew. So I would like to ask you both. We are in a country that we speak a lot of languages. We have this multicultural environment. So what about, I mean, the French language? We have a question here in the chat from Kim that she's asking for the language requirements. And is it important? Is it mandatory to know French in order to survive and develop, or German, yes, in order to advance your career here in Luxembourg?
I can speak from my experience and working with quite a few different employers and the requirements role that we look at. Languages are certainly beneficial. How it's evolved from especially in the private equity world, I would see is a large amount of US businesses. Of course, there's the French clients and UK-based clients and international clients that are based here. I'm working with a Chinese private equity firm as an example at the moment. But underlyingly, what they look for is someone that can speak English as a business language. Additional skills integration-wise for French can be certainly helpful. It really depends on how the entity and the business is structured in Luxembourg. Of course, if it's German-focused, that's a necessity as well. So really, it would depend. It's not one language will fit everything. Having English is certainly a requirement for every single role that I would work on.
Mm.
And you, Dunja, would you like to,
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think English is very important, especially as mentioned by Andrew, in the private equity real estate, where we see a lot of business coming in from US asset managers. And having, well, I see it always as an advantage also speaking different languages. It gives you it shows that you have a multicultural overview, and that is always helpful when you're going to work in companies that have clients across the world. And I think Luxembourg is one of the most important financial sectors, and every company has clients across the world, and we need staff, cultural staff that can only be an asset.
Absolutely. But I think, yeah, the more languages they speak, of course, the more advantages and the more opportunities that you can talk about. So I think that certainly, it will give you more opportunities the more languages that you speak, of course.
Of course, I mean, it's obvious. I have another question. We see, nowadays, phenomenon of people changing firms in less than a year, like after 6 months. So what do you think that is the right period for people to change?
Yeah, to stay on a job, and not to be.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think Dunya and I probably, I worked for one of my companies for 15 years and 20 years. So I think we're coming from kind of a long-term business and career perspective. But that's the reason I think is probably, correct me if I'm wrong, Dunya, but we've both had different opportunities. I worked in 3 different countries for the same company. And in that time, I was promoted quite regularly through to different opportunities and senior levels. So I was given opportunities to grow. I didn't stay doing the same thing for 15 years. So I suppose it comes back to that individual. What do you want to achieve in your career? And how is this opportunity or role helping you achieve that? So I would say if you're looking at longevity within a business. If you're able to commit for 3 years, I think that's a good time. And if you're not given any options to progress or grow, of course, I believe it's as an individual, you're in charge of your career. You drive that and you try to open those doors and opportunities within each employer. If you're moving after that, before 3 years, you've got to have really good reasons for that. And it's always going to be a question that comes up with any interviews: why have you moved so much? And if you've moved so much in the 5 years, it's likely that you're going to continue to do that in the future. So employers get quite wary of that commitment. They onboard, they train, and they develop, and they want you to grow within their businesses. So showing commitment is a big part of what employers look for, and they want to see that you will hopefully do that within their organization as well. I would just want to highlight, I suppose, also with the career development, if you're not achieving what you want, of course, do move, and I've seen many people do that, and they've moved more regularly to reach their goals. But I think it just comes with a word of caution that you've got to really have the right driving reasons for that, to accelerate your career if that's what you're trying to do. And there is quite a high turnover of a number of people in organizations in London. But I would encourage people to really try to develop within their own organizations. Put your hand up, ask for promotions, ask for growth, ask what they can offer you. Really try to build that within your organization, and then look at external options if it's not possible.
Well, there are many vacancies out there and many job positions, as we know as today. What about the future? Someone listening to us now will probably be curious about his own evolution. So what should they target? What should they seek as an objective in the long run? Because I mean, certain positions are also changing. So the sector moving so that people can prepare to that, to those future roles that will be available in the future.
I think, take it. I can give my opinion, but you can talk.
No, go ahead, Andrew. I go after you.
I suppose to see a variety of different, I suppose from a regulatory changes and everything happening from a compliance perspective and the substance requirements in Luxembourg, how people evolve. We see a number of conducting officer positions being created. There's always been a talk over a number of years, what can we bring in from more middle office? Is there possibilities to bring front office roles here? We're seeing more growth in portfolio management. So that's a really interesting opportunity, sometimes more in oversight. But that creates some really interesting roles, especially if, as an example, you're studying CFA and how do you utilize that qualification as opposed to doing a much more back office driven role in accounting and finance. So I'd see, I mean, technology plays a factor in this as well, how companies are evolving, automation of their roles and how they see that for the future in Luxembourg. But they're seeing a massive growth. I mean, there's a high demand at the moment for a number of different positions and growth in all areas of finance and legal. And I'm seeing more of those being created at the moment. So I think the future looks pretty positive from a Luxembourg perspective. And that's been brought over, especially the last few years when a number of companies have grown and developed here. They've looked at AFEM requirements and how they've needed to kind of emphasize their presence in Luxembourg. So that opens some really interesting roles. How you evolve, I think you've got to be ready to adapt. I think as the world changes, as companies change, as technology changes, the ability as your career develops and changes, you've got to be able to adapt quickly to those changes of business, to skills, to training, and you've got to also take the kind of initiative to be able to adapt your style, career, training, development with that as well.
Yeah. And Dunya, do you see anything in particular in your firm, for instance?
Yeah, I see it like Andrew. What we see, AML KYC has become a very important topic for clients, for internal audit compliance, for the regulators. So that is a topic I think that will continue to evolve and will need AML KYC knowledgeable staff. I think as well as the market on private equity is still not mature. There is still a lot of work that is done manually. There is not a system that can do everything when servicing these types of funds. So a lot of automation, digitalization is needed. So that means that that roles where you can continuously think how to improve things are very important. And what I see being in an operational department, it's not necessarily the expertise in private equity that we are looking for, but people that are motivated, really willing to take on challenges, to continue things, and with a can-do attitude. I think the mindset is super important in that business, because it's not a standard business. There's still so much that is evolving, changing all the time, and we need people that are willing to take on those challenges, constantly willing to improve, and yeah, not afraid of complex issues or problems to solve.
Okay, thank you very much. Before we close this panel, I mean, we are here in Luxembourg. We meet every day people that they came from abroad. They started in lower positions and they became partners. They had a very successful career, and they still have. Do you have any real life examples to share with us? I mean, from your experience, any colleagues of you, or Andrew, from you, if you recruited some people?
I can quickly go, and then I'm sure then you'll be able to give some good examples at the same time. So I suppose I've been here for 15 years. In that time, I've been able to see people that have been able to evolve their careers, and it's great to see how people have achieved that. And there's not one way, I suppose, that I can say is that this is what they've done to achieve that goal. But I think probably that underlies it. They've had a goal, and they've had a focus, and they've had a plan to achieve. They've had a drive to say, I want to be a CEO, or I want to be heading up an office, and they've had that at an early stage. And they've all taken, people that I've seen have taken different journeys to reach that. So they've started in different opportunities, but comes in a way they've been people that have put their hand up. They've had that solutions focused mindset. They've been people that say, look, I'm happy to do that. I can take that. Someone that wants to take ownership and drive for what they want to do, and they've taken different opportunities. So if that opportunity, coming back to how long do I stay in the business or a role, if it's not meeting to their requirements, they've changed. They said, this is not helping me achieve what I want to do with my career. And that's a clear message to any employer. This is what I want to do, and this is how I'm going to achieve it, and this is my ultimate aim. And I think that's a clear message to anyone when you're either interviewing, and certainly to an employer. It makes you fully understand what that person is trying to do, and it helps them to understand what they can offer them from an opportunity perspective as well. So I think the drive, the goals, and having a clear vision about what they want to achieve in a variety of different roles, and that passion really to drive that career focus forward. And it's a lot of hard work. It's not easy. Things aren't going to land on your desk. Doors don't open by themselves. The networking point that we discussed, network, you need to learn, you need to develop, you need to put your hand up. You need to do all of these if you really want to drive your career. It's a competitive world, and many people will be doing similar things. So you have to think, what's going to stand you out of your career, out of your current role, to make you achieve ultimately what you want to do. And having those mentors, as Jenny was mentioning, really can help you achieve that short-term, medium and long-term goals as well.
Yeah, and in terms of examples, well, I could take my personal example. When I started 20 years ago, I started keying in subscription and redemptions transactions, and that was such a huge learning school for me, because I saw everything from start, and I evolved over the years. And recently, and because I always had in mind, okay, what is my next step? And you should also see your career as a step. When you have achieved one step, you can already think about, okay, what is my next step, and work towards it. And we have had recent examples where we recruited people. For example, we recruited a client manager that is constantly in contact with clients, and he started as a tax analyst. You can ask yourself, wait, why are you taking a tax analyst being in a client manager role on private equity? Because this person showed focus. He was so motivated in things about private equity. He was organizing trainings by himself. He was looking outside. What is the market? How is this market evolving? Today, he's one of our best client managers in the private equity world, because he was so motivated. He wasn't afraid learning new things. And this is something, I think, what you need to have in mind by driving your career. You should never be afraid of learning new things. I'm learning new things every day, and that's what I want. And as long as you have the focus, you need, as long as you know where you want, go for it. Go for it. Take the opportunities. Look, okay, what do I need to improve? Where I'm good at? Work with your strengths. Try to improve your weaknesses, and keep the focus. And I always say you need to be your own CEO to drive your career. And that's how I see the people that have that focus are the people, they are achievers. They can go into whatever role they want.
Exactly. There are no opportunities falling from the sky. You need to work hard. You need to be persistent, and also, to, as you said, to take the risks and yourself. Yes.
So thank you very much. We already exceeded our 30 minutes. We tried to answer a couple of questions that popped up here. So with no more questions in the queue, we thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Dunia and Andrew. We, Luis and Evie, we will be back later this afternoon at 2:30
yes,
for our last panel on the benefits of working in private equity in Luxembourg. So it's not only about salaries. There's a lot beyond salaries.
Side benefits, yeah.
Benefits that we're going to explore later on with new speakers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. See you soon and enjoy the day.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
For all the attendees, don't continue to go to the recruiters booths and get there to the queue, or
RBC and all the other recruiters waiting for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.